At 9:14 p.m. on January 23, 2024, the 911 center recorded one of its strangest emergency calls. The only sound from Matilda Miller's call to the police was her hysterical screams. Ethan and his partner, Kate, were the nearest patrol unit dispatched to investigate. Heavy snowfall over the past 3 days made reaching the Millers' suburban home difficult. When Ethan and Kate arrived, neither Matilda nor her husband Peter answered the door, forcing Ethan to break in. Entering the Miller home was enough for young Ethan to realize he was dealing with the strangest case of his career. Their car, covered in snow, was parked in the front, the TV was on, and the phone Matilda used to call the police was still on the floor, beeping. It was clear Matilda and Peter were home just moments before, but now they were nowhere to be found, as if they had vanished inside their own home. The door was locked from the inside, with the key broken in the lock, making it impossible to open. The windows were barred with metal grills, turning the house into a prison. However, the strangest part was yet to come. Why would someone install surveillance cameras all over their house, even in the bedrooms, especially when only a middle-aged couple lived there? This question troubled Ethan during his search of the house, particularly because there were no cameras outside. Despite the oddity, checking the cameras was Ethan's only way to figure out what happened to the Millers. While Kate went to check the garage and talk to neighbors, Ethan started reviewing the camera footage on an old laptop he found in Peter's office upstairs. As he went through the recordings around the time of Matilda's call, one camera's footage caught his attention. It showed the only room on the first floor, now completely dark, which Ethan had searched minutes before. Leftover food, raw meat, and thick chains attached to the walls suggested it was for keeping dogs. The room was empty during Ethan's search, but the footage showed something alive in there. The image was unclear, so Ethan moved closer to the monitor to see what was staring at the camera in the dark. Suddenly, the radio on his shoulder crackled, startling him. It was Kate, with new information from the Millers' nearest neighbor. "No one lives there, just a dog." That's what Kate said about the Miller house. Matilda had died a month ago, and Peter, deeply in love with his wife, became depressed and reclusive, spending most of his time at their second home in the city. He only came back to feed the dog they both loved. Kate might be right about the dog, because what Ethan saw on the footage resembled one, even though neither had seen a dog in the house. However, something didn't add up. The report they received mentioned a woman's screams. The theories of a false report or prank call crossed Ethan and Kate's minds. But something more sinister was at play, recorded by another camera in the house. Ethan was sure the woman in the second camera's footage, trying to find a way out of the house, was Matilda. He had seen her and Peter's photo in their bedroom, although Matilda looked different in the footage. She had a strange hump on her back, making her walk hunched, with her hands close to the ground. Her behavior was even more bizarre. She acted like a prisoner or hostage looking for an escape. But why would someone try to escape their own home? And why would Peter lie about his wife's death? Ethan had heard of psychotic individuals imprisoning and torturing family members or kidnapped strangers for years, and now he found himself in the middle of such a case. But the footage showed something else. After struggling for a bit, Matilda, finding no way out, called the police. What shocked Ethan was her calm demeanor and lack of immediate danger as she screamed into the phone, then dropped it and stared into the camera as if looking at Ethan. "How did she die?" Ethan asked Kate, who was on her way back to the Miller's house. Kate's one-word answer was rabies. She had learned this from the neighbors, but no one knew how Matilda contracted it. After her illness began, Peter isolated himself and Matilda in the house, cutting off all contact. The last time anyone saw Peter was 5 days ago, when he returned to feed the dog. This prompted Ethan to check the footage from 5 days ago to understand Matilda's abnormal behavior. The footage started shockingly. Matilda was in the bedroom, writhing in pain and screaming. Peter entered with a pit bull, which approached Matilda and started licking her. Matilda smiled and petted the dog, seemingly forgetting her pain. But then, like a wild animal, she bit the dog's neck and didn't let go until it stopped moving. Covered in blood, Matilda enjoyed the carnage. Ethan couldn't believe what he saw. Matilda was eating the dog as Peter watched without any reaction, as if he had brought the dog as food for his wife before becoming her next meal 2 days later. Matilda, like a maniac, banged on the windows trying to escape, but the metal bars were too strong. Peter, cleaning the blood and dog remains off the bed, rushed to her and tried to calm her down by hugging her. Everything happened in a flash. Matilda dug her nails into Peter's throat, tearing it open. As Peter struggled to stop the bleeding, he knew he wouldn't survive but didn't want the monster in the house to escape. He ran to the door and broke the key in the lock before collapsing. Matilda, enraged, sat on Peter's dying body and casually gouged his eyes with her thumbs until he took his last breath. The subsequent footage showed only one thing repeatedly: Matilda eating Peter's body. Ethan now understood why Peter had installed the cameras and locked himself and his wife inside the house. He wanted to prevent her from escaping, a goal Ethan had unknowingly thwarted by breaking the door. But now Ethan was worried about something more important. He realized the creature he saw in the dark room wasn't a dog, but Matilda, and she was still in the house. Ethan told Kate to hurry back and updated her on the situation, then quickly checked the camera footage to see what happened after Matilda's call to the police. Switching between cameras, he finally found the right footage. Matilda had moved to the second floor and hid in one of the rooms, waiting in the dark. Ethan stared in shock at Matilda's lifeless eyes glowing in the darkness, realizing her call to the police was just a ploy to escape her prison. More importantly, he understood he was in the same room where Matilda was hiding. He realized this when he saw her reflection on the laptop monitor standing behind him. This was the last image Ethan saw before his death. When Kate arrived at the Miller's house, the door was open, and a trail of blood led into the snow. The only visible tracks were bare human footprints heading toward the forest, dragging a body behind them.